The Holocaust and its most powerful moments. Welcome to Hidden History, the place where we explore and reflect on one of the darkest moments in human history, the Holocaust. On this channel, we will delve into the events that took place during World War II, focusing on the horrors of genocide perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Our goal is to shed light on this pivotal period, to remember the lives lost, and to honor the memory of those who suffered unimaginable atrocities. This is not just a history channel, but a space for reflection, education, and respect for the truth. Join us on this journey to learn, to remember, and to ensure that future generations never forget the lessons of the Holocaust. Together we will explore the importance of historical memory and the collective responsibility to prevent such tragedies in the future. Let's begin. Number 1. The Night of Broken Glass. The Night of Broken Glass took place in Germany and Austria on the night of November 9 to 10, 1938, and marked a violent turning point in the systematic persecution of Jews by the Nazi regime. It was a tragic prelude to the Holocaust. Violence erupted after the assassination of Ernst von Rath, a German diplomat in Paris, by Herschel Greenspan, a young Polish Jew. The spread of news of the murder provoked an immediate response from Nazi leaders. Joseph Goebbels, the Third Reich's Minister of Propaganda, incited the German people to retaliate against the Jews. On the night of November 9 to 10, 1938, hordes of Nazi civilians, members of the SA and SS, carried out widespread attacks against the Jewish community. Without police intervention, the perpetrators set fire to synagogues, destroyed Jewish-owned businesses, and looted Jewish homes. In addition, many Jews were arrested, beaten, and killed during these riots. The name, Night of Broken Glass, comes from the countless windows that were shattered during the attacks, leaving entire streets littered with broken glass by morning. In the aftermath of this horrific event, the Nazi government intensified its repression of Jews, implementing more restrictive laws and unleashing a wave of forced emigration. The Night of Broken Glass is remembered as a dark moment in history that underscores the importance of vigilance against intolerance and persecution. Number 2. The Invasion of Poland. The invasion of Poland, which began on September 1, 1939, marked the beginning of the Second World War. It was a military action coordinated by Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, which divided Poland between them according to the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, an agreement of non-aggression and delineation of spheres of influence. In August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a secret agreement designed to divide Eastern Europe between the two powers. The pact also included secret protocols that defined each country's zones of influence and left Poland divided. Between Germany and the Soviet Union, on September 1, 1939, German forces led by Adolf Hitler launched a blitzkrieg invasion of Poland using the tactics of rapid air raids, bombing, and the coordinated use of ground forces. Meanwhile, on September 17, 1939, the Soviet Red Army invaded eastern Poland, occupying the part assigned to the Soviet Union by the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. On September 3, 1939, France and the United Kingdom declared war on Germany in response to the invasion of Poland, marking the official beginning of World War II. Number 3. The Final Solution. The final solution of 1941 was a crucial decision by the Nazi regime led by Adolf Hitler to carry out the systematic genocide of European Jews during World War II. Special paramilitary units were sent to the Eastern Front to follow German troops and carry out mass executions. These units carried out mass shootings of Jews, communists, intellectual leaders, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazis. Victims were killed in mass graves or through more systematic methods such as gas vans. This plan was implemented primarily beginning in 1941 and intensified with the invasion of the Soviet Union and the establishment of specially designed extermination camps. The Wannsee Conference in January 1942 was a major milestone in coordinating the logistical details of the mass execution of Jews. The construction of extermination camps such as Auschwitz, Sobibor, and Treblinka marked the active phase of the final solution. This genocidal policy resulted in the deaths of approximately 6 million Jews and millions of other victims, making the Holocaust one of the most heinous crimes in history. Number 4. Auschwitz Concentration Camp. Auschwitz, located in Oświęcim, Poland, was the site of one of the most notorious concentration and extermination camps during World War II. It was established by Nazi German forces in 1940 and became the epicenter of the final solution for the genocide of Jews and other groups deemed undesirable by the Nazi regime. Created primarily to house Polish political prisoners, the concentration camp was initially used for the incarceration and exploitation of slave labor. Over time, Auschwitz expanded and was divided into several main concentration camp areas, each serving different functions. One was used as the main concentration and extermination camp, while the larger one became the main extermination site with gas chambers and crematoria. Prisoners at Auschwitz faced extremely inhumane conditions, including overcrowding, malnutrition, forced labor, and constant brutality by guards. Upon arrival, prisoners were selected to determine who would be sent directly to the gas chambers and who would be used as temporary slave labor. Auschwitz was also the site where the Nazis conducted gruesome medical experiments on prisoners, including forced sterilizations, pharmacological testing, and experiments on twins. As Allied forces advanced in Europe, the SS attempted to evacuate Auschwitz and destroy evidence of their atrocities. On January 27, 1945, Auschwitz was liberated by the Soviet Red Army. It is estimated that over 1 million people, mostly Jews, were killed at Auschwitz, making the camp one of the most symbolic sites of the Holocaust. Number 5. Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising was an act of courageous resistance by the Jews of the Warsaw Ghetto during World War II. It began on April 19, 1943, in response to German attempts to deport and liquidate the ghetto's inhabitants. The resistance, led by the ZOB, used guerrilla tactics in fierce fighting that lasted for about a month. Despite overwhelming German superiority, the uprising became a symbol of the struggle for dignity and freedom. Although it did not change the course of the war, its lasting impact makes it a poignant testament to Jewish resistance during the Holocaust. Number 6. The Wannsee Conference. The Wannsee Conference, held on January 20, 1942, was a pivotal meeting in the history of the Holocaust. Led by Reinhard Heydrich, a high-ranking SS official and head of the SD, the meeting took place in a villa on the shores of Wannsee Lake on the outskirts of Berlin. The conference brought together high-ranking officials from various Nazi government agencies to discuss and coordinate the implementation of the final solution, the systematic genocide of Europe's Jews. Participants included Heydrich, Adolf Eichmann, Roland Freisler, and representatives of ministries, government agencies, and the SS. During the meeting, Heydrich presented an overview of previous anti-Semitic policies and then officially announced the policy of systematic extermination. Logistical details were discussed, such as the organization of the extermination camps, cooperation between various agencies, and transportation logistics for the mass deportation of Jews to the East. The main conclusion of the conference was that European Jews would be deported to concentration and extermination camps in the East, where they would be systematically killed by methods such as gas chambers and mass shootings. This meeting marked a fundamental shift in Nazi policy toward the Jews, from discriminatory measures and large-scale persecution to an orchestrated plan of genocide. While the Wannsee Conference was not the starting point of the Holocaust or the first instance of the mass murder of Jews, it represented the formalization and government-level coordination of the final solution. Number 7. Medical experiments. these experiments were designed to justify Nazi racial ideology and advance pseudoscientific eugenics. Here are descriptions of some of the most infamous experiments. Victims were selected without their consent and without regard for their well-being. These experiments included exposure to extreme conditions such as high altitudes and temperatures to simulate combat conditions. Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death, at Auschwitz, conducted particularly gruesome experiments on twins. The twins were subjected to genetic and medical experiments, including the harvesting of organs without anesthesia and the injection of chemicals to study their effects. The Nazis conducted experiments to study hypothermia and methods of warming the body. Many prisoners were immersed in icy water to test the limits of the human body in cold conditions. Experiments were conducted to develop methods of forced sterilization, such as tubal ligation and castration, with the goal of implementing eugenic policies. Nazi experiments tested sulfonamides, a type of antibiotic, on prisoners to determine their effectiveness. These experiments often resulted in severe infections and, in many cases, the death of the test subjects. Malaria experiments were conducted in which prisoners were deliberately infected with the malaria parasite in order to test drugs and develop vaccines. These experiments seriously violated basic ethical principles and human rights. Many of those involved in these crimes were tried at the Nuremberg Trials after the war. Number 8. Kindertransport. The Kindertransport was a humanitarian initiative during World War II that enabled the evacuation of Jewish children, unaccompanied by adults, from Nazi Germany and Nazi-controlled territories to the United Kingdom. The need for this operation arose as Nazi persecution intensified. Jewish activists, charities, and the British government came together to organize the evacuation. Under international agreements, the British government allowed these children to enter the country without visas on the condition that they would be cared for and educated. Approximately 10,000 children were evacuated to Britain by train and ship. They carried an identification tag and their parents relinquished custody. In Britain, British families, institutions, and foster homes took in these children. Although the Kindertransport saved lives by providing a safe haven, the war made family reunification difficult as many parents perished in the Holocaust. Some children remained in Britain and built new lives, while others emigrated to other countries after the war. This humanitarian act is a testament to solidarity in times of despair, but it also highlights the tragedies and family separations caused by the Holocaust and Nazi persecution. Number 9. Nuremberg Trials. After World War II, the Nuremberg Trials were held between 1945 and 1946 to prosecute Nazi leaders for war crimes, crimes against peace, and crimes against humanity. The German city of Nuremberg was the site of these historic international trials. The International Military Tribunal was established by the Allied powers, and the trials involved 24 top Nazi leaders. The charges included crimes such as the Holocaust, persecution of specific groups, and planning military aggression. During the trials, detailed evidence was presented on the horrors of the Holocaust, concentration camps, and war crimes committed by the Nazi regime. The tribunal issued verdicts that included death sentences, prison terms, and acquittals. The Nuremberg trials set important legal precedents and influenced the creation of key principles of international law, such as the Geneva Convention. In addition, the trials contributed to the development of a global awareness of the need for accountability for international crimes and the promotion of human rights on an international scale. Number 10. Liberation of the concentration camps. The liberation of the concentration camps during World War II was a pivotal moment that marked the end of the Nazi regime's systematic persecution. As Allied forces advanced across Europe, they liberated numerous concentration and extermination camps, revealing the extent of the horrors. The liberation of these camps is deeply moving and devastating. Beginning in 1944 and especially in 1945, Allied forces led by Americans, British, and Soviets advanced into Nazi-controlled territory. As they liberated cities and towns, they also discovered the existence of concentration and extermination camps where millions of people, mostly Jews, had been subjected to inhumane conditions and mass murder. The images of Allied soldiers entering camps such as Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, and Dachau are shocking. They encountered emaciated, exhausted, and traumatized human beings who had survived systematic torture and genocide. The liberators faced the overwhelming task of providing immediate humanitarian aid to the survivors, many of whom were too weak to move. The liberation also involved the capture and arrest of Nazi perpetrators for trial at the subsequent Nuremberg Trials. These events revealed the brutality and magnitude of the crimes committed during the Holocaust. The liberation of the concentration camps symbolizes the victory of humanity over the totalitarian and genocidal ideology of Nazism. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and enable notifications. Greetings.